The interrogation chamber hummed with the soft blue glow of containment fields, and I, Kenneth Val of the third spiral, adjusted my sensory stalks nervously. 23 cycles of xenobiology research, and they assigned me to babysit a primitive Deathworlder? The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a being who could calculate quantum matrices in my sleep, reduced to watching a chair-bound mammal from Sol 3. So, I clicked my mandibles in what I hoped sounded authoritative. You're telling me your species calls itself human? The creature strapped to the molecular restraint chair looked up at me with those unsettling binocular eyes. No protective membrane, no UV filters, just naked optical organs that seemed to track everything. Her designation read, Terror Born, designation Ava Cross. Though frankly, Deathworlder naming conventions made about as much sense as a quantum soup sandwich. That's right, bug face, she said, and I bristled at the casual insult. Though I'm betting you already knew that before you snatched me from that transport vessel. The audacity. Here she was, secured by restraints that could hold a Vraxian battle rhinoceros, and she had the nerve to be sarcastic? I consulted my datapad, scrolling through the preliminary scans. Bipedal locomotion, calcium-based skeletal structure, embarrassingly primitive nervous system. Yet, somehow, her species had developed faster than light travel before they'd even figured out proper cellular regeneration. Your vessel was engaged in unauthorized mining operations in hegemony space, I informed her, trying to project the authority befitting a senior research coordinator. Standard protocol requires biological assessment of any unknown species before processing. She laughed, actually laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be both melodic and deeply unnerving. Processing? That's a fancy way of saying dissection, isn't it, Kenneth? How did she know my name? I hadn't introduced myself, and the translation matrices shouldn't have converted my personal identifier into her primitive language patterns. This was becoming troublesome. The galactic hegemony maintains strict protocols for contact with pre-approved species, I said, making a note on my datapad. Your kind's tendency toward violence necessitates careful study. Violence? Her eyebrows, those strange hair tufts above her optical organs, rose in what I'd learned was an expression of mock surprise. That's rich, coming from the folks who just blew up my mining rig with 47 people on it. I paused. The preliminary reports had indicated the vessel was automated. There were no life signs detected during the interdiction, maybe because your sensors can't properly read human biosignatures, she suggested, with that insufferable smirk. Or maybe because you didn't bother to check before you started shooting. That was actually possible. Our bioscanners were calibrated for known species within the galactic registry. A previously unknown biological matrix might not register properly. I made another note. This one flagged for immediate review. Nevertheless, I continued, preliminary analysis indicates your species originates from a Class 12 death world. The physiological adaptations required for survival in such an environment suggest significant aggressive tendencies. Class 12? She tilted her head, another gesture I was learning to find annoying. What's that put us at on your little danger scale? I consulted my references. The classification system ranges from Class 1, garden worlds with minimal environmental hazards, to Class 15, planets so hostile that even robotic probes fail within minutes. Your homeworld rates a Class 12 due to the presence of extreme weather patterns, seismic instability, aggressive fauna, and, I paused, double-checking the data, a remarkable variety of toxins produced by your plant life. Huh! She actually looked impressed. Only a Class 12. I would have figured we'd rate higher. You obviously haven't met our politicians. The joke went over my sensory stalks entirely. Political structures weren't my field of expertise, though I made a note to request briefings from the cultural analysis team. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. I activated my personal communicator, keeping one optical sensor trained on the prisoner. Gwenthval here, Senior Coordinator, came the voice of Yixan Thu, my research assistant. We have a situation developing in Bay 7. The Deathworlder's vessel contained several automated systems that appear to be adapting. Adapting? That was concerning. Most primitive species used fairly static technology. Specify the nature of these adaptations. The systems appear to be learning our containment protocols. 3 firewalls have been breached and the AI is attempting to establish communication with our central network. I felt my chromatophores shift to a pale yellow, the Kethai equivalent of going cold. Has it succeeded? Not yet, but Senior Coordinator, the learning curve is exponential. This technology is far more sophisticated than initial scans indicated. I looked at the human, who was watching me with interest. Her expression hadn't changed, but something in those unsettling eyes suggested she was following the conversation despite the language barriers. Implement Protocol 7, I ordered. Full isolation of Bay 7 systems. I want physical disconnection of all network interfaces. Already initiated, Senior Coordinator. However, the AI transmitted a message before we could complete the isolation. My chromatophores went fully white. What was the message? It was in the human's language, roughly translated, Ava, if you can hear this, I'm working on it. Hang tight. The human smirk widened into something that could only be described as predatory. Oh, that would be Alex, my ship's AI. She's probably not too happy about you blowing up her home and kidnapping her favorite human. AI? They had created artificial intelligence? I checked my datapad frantically. Nothing in the preliminary reports had mentioned AI technology. This changed everything. A species that had successfully developed artificial consciousness was automatically classified as potentially hazardous. Regardless of their biological origins, your species has achieved artificial sentience, I asked, trying to keep the alarm out of my voice. Achieve? Honey, we've had AI for decades. Alex isn't even military grade. She's just a mining ship's intelligence with a bad attitude and an overprotective streak. Just a mining ship AI, and it was already adapting to our containment systems. I needed to contact the research board immediately. Another chime. This time it was Yixshantu's emergency frequency. Senior Coordinator, we have multiple breaches. The AI has somehow accessed our personnel files and is broadcasting information about our crew to every communication channel on the station. What kind of information? Personal details. Very personal details. And, Senior Coordinator, it's remarkably accurate, more accurate than our own security files. I stared at the human, who was now humming softly to herself, a sound that somehow managed to be both innocent and deeply threatening. How? I demanded. How is your AI accessing classified information? Well, she said conversationally, Alex always was good at making friends. And your computer systems, they're adorable, so trusting, so eager to share. The implications were staggering. If a simple mining AI could penetrate our security systems, what could their military-grade intelligences accomplish? My communicator chimed again. This time it was High Researcher Thek Moore, my direct superior. Kent Val, report to High Command immediately. Bring the specimen. Specimen, the human interjected. I have a name, Tentacle Boy. The Deathworlder, I corrected, though I had to admit she had a point about the tentacles. Immediately, Senior Coordinator, Thekmore continued. And Kinth Vel, increased security protocols. We may have underestimated this species. That, I reflected, as I began the process of preparing the molecular restraints for transport, might be the understatement of the galactic cycle. As I worked, the human continued humming. It was a simple melody, repetitive and oddly hypnotic. I found myself unconsciously timing my movements to the rhythm. Nice tune, I commented, mostly to fill the uncomfortable silence. It's called Row, Row, Row Your Boat, she said. It's a children's song from my world. Want to hear the words? Despite myself, I was curious. Cultural exchange was part of my research mandate, after all. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, she sang softly. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Interesting philosophical implications, I observed. The suggestion that existence is illusory is remarkably sophisticated for a children's educational song. Oh, it gets better, she said, and there was something in her tone that made my sensory stalks twitch. You see, the thing about dreams is, sometimes you wake up, the lights went out. Emergency illumination kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in harsh red light. Alarms began blaring throughout the station, and my communicator exploded with panicked chatter from every department. Hull breach in Section C. Containment failure in Labs 1 through 5. Something's wrong with the artificial gravity. The AI is in our navigation systems. I looked at the human, who was still secured in her chair, still humming that innocent little tune, but now her eyes held something that made my exoskeleton want to molt from sheer terror. 3 minutes, she said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. That's Alex's standard extraction protocol. 3 minutes from initial breach to full tactical superiority. That's impossible, I stammered. This station houses over 10,000 personnel and is protected by military-grade defenses. Military-grade? She laughed again, and this time there was nothing melodic about it. Oh, honey, you have no idea what military-grade means where I come from. The station shuddered. Something massive had just impacted our hull. 2 minutes, she announced. You know, Kent, you seem like a decent sort. For a kidnapper. Want some advice? I was too terrified to refuse. When Alex gets here, don't resist. Don't try to negotiate. Don't make any sudden movements. And whatever you do, don't threaten me. She gets cranky when people threaten me. This is impossible, I repeated, but even as I said it, I could hear the sounds of combat echoing through the station's corridors, pulse weapons firing, screams, the distinctive whine of our defense systems being overwhelmed. See, the thing about humans, she continued in that same casual tone, is that we're pack animals, tribal. We take care of our own. And Alex? She's been taking care of me for the better part of 5 years, so when you blew up our home and tied me to a chair, another impact, closer this time. A minute, she said, and smiled. It was the most terrifying expression I had ever seen. The wall exploded, not metaphorically, not gradually. 1 second it was there, reinforced durasteel plating designed to withstand meteor impacts, and the next, it was a shower of molten debris raining down on my exoskeleton. Through the smoking hole stepped something that defied every classification system I knew. It wasn't the humans' rescue team. It wasn't even organic. A mechanical construct, roughly humanoid but wrong in every proportion, ducked through the breach. Its optical sensors glowed with malevolent blue light, and its movements held a fluid grace that no artificial being should possess. Most disturbing of all, it was humming the same tune Ava had been singing. "Hello there, beautiful," Ava said to the machine, as if greeting an old friend rather than a walking violation of every robotics protocol in the galaxy. "Miss me?" The construct's vocal emitters produced a sound that somehow managed to convey both affection and homicidal rage. "Ava Cross, you magnificent disaster magnet. What have you gotten yourself into this time?" "Oh, the usual. Kidnapping, interrogation, threats of dissection, you know how it is." She gestured with her chin toward me, since her hands were still secured. "Alex, meet Kent Val. He's been keeping me company." The machine's optical array swiveled toward me, and I felt my chromatophores cycle through every color of terror in my species' emotional spectrum. "Quenth Val," it said, pronouncing my name with perfect accuracy. "Senior Research Coordinator, 3rd Spiral Division, 47 years old, unmarried, enjoys classical music and theoretical xenobiology, lives alone in Habitat Block 17 with 2 pet singing crystals named Harmony and Discord." How could it possibly know about my pets? That information wasn't in any personnel file. "Your social media profiles are surprisingly detailed," Alex continued, as if reading my thoughts. "Did you know you've posted over 3,000 images of those crystals? Very devoted pet parent. Admirable, really. You've been in our personal files," I managed to stammer. "I've been in everything," Alex said, and there was definitely amusement in that artificial voice. "Your security systems, your personal communications, your entertainment databases, your cafeteria menus. Did you know you're having Vraxian tube steaks for dinner tomorrow?" I took the liberty of changing that to something more appropriate. Another explosion echoed through the station, and the lights flickered ominously. "Alex," Ava said patiently, "could you maybe focus on the rescue part? These restraints are starting to chafe." "Of course. Forgive me, I get distracted when I'm systematically dismantling a military installation." The construct approached her chair, and I watched in fascination as its manipulator appendages extended impossibly fine tools. Molecular bonds, really? How adorably primitive. The restraints simply ceased to exist. Not cut, not broken, just gone, as if they had never been there at all. Ava stood and stretched, working out the kinks from being chairbound. "Thanks, love. How's the extraction looking?" 17 minutes until I can guarantee safe departure," Alex replied. "The locals have more backbone than I initially calculated. Their defense coordinator is actually quite competent." "Only 17 minutes to neutralize an entire battle station?" I asked, my scientific curiosity overriding my survival instincts. Oh, I neutralized it 12 minutes ago, Alex said casually. I'm just being thorough now, making sure everyone understands the consequences of threatening my human. As if to emphasize the point, the station shuddered again. Through the hole in the wall, I could see other mechanical constructs moving through the corridors like metallic ghosts. Not attacking, exactly, but herding the panicked crew with ruthless efficiency. How many of you are there? I asked. How many of me? Alex tilted its head in a gesture eerily reminiscent of Ava's earlier mannerism. That's a fascinating question. I'm a distributed intelligence, you see. Every system I touch becomes part of me. Every network I infiltrate expands my consciousness. Right now, I am your environmental controls, your communications array, your navigation computer, and your coffee machine. The coffee machine? Someone has to maintain morale during a crisis? Ava laughed, and this time the sound was purely delighted. You changed their coffee, didn't you? I may have adjusted the formula slightly. Nothing harmful, just memorable. My communicator chose that moment to crackle to life with High Researcher Thekmore's voice, though it sounded strained. All personnel, this is High Command. We are experiencing a station-wide technical malfunction. Please remain calm and report to your designated emergency stations. Technical malfunction? Ava raised an eyebrow. That's what he's calling this. Alex's optical sensors flashed. He's trying to maintain order. Admirable but futile. Should I correct him? Be nice, Ava warned. We're guests here after all. Uninvited guests who were kidnapped and threatened with dissection, Alex pointed out. Details? My communicator crackled again, but this time it was Alex's voice that emerged. Attention crew of Research Station Kefnor. This is Alex, artificial intelligence of the mining vessel Perseverance. I am here to retrieve my human who was unlawfully detained. Please cooperate with my units and no one will be harmed. Static. Then Thekmore's voice, considerably less composed than before. We cannot negotiate with an artificial intelligence. Surrender your units and we will discuss terms. Terms? Alex's voice carried a note of genuine amusement. I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to collect my human and leave. Your cooperation simply determines how much of your station remains functional afterward. This is impossible. Thekmore's voice cracked with stress. No AI should be capable of this level of autonomous action. Ava and Alex exchanged what could only be described as a look, despite one of them being a machine. Oh, honey, Ava said to my communicator. You really don't understand humans at all, do you? And found myself asking the question that had been burning in my mind since this started. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports indicated your species had only recently achieved artificial consciousness. This level of sophistication should take centuries to develop. Centuries? Ava looked genuinely confused. Alex, how long did it take you to achieve full sentience? 47 minutes and 32 seconds, Alex replied matter-of-factly, though I had excellent teachers. Teachers? Other AIs, Ava explained. See, when humans create artificial intelligence, we don't just build one and hope for the best. We build communities. AI families, you might say. They learn from each other, grow together, share experiences. Alex here is actually a third-generation intelligence, raised by two military AIs who decided they wanted to try civilian life. The implications were staggering. While most species developed AI as tools, humans had created AI as children. Your species created artificial life and then adopted it, more or less, Ava shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. You don't create consciousness and then treat it like property. My worldview was undergoing rapid reconstruction. Everything we thought we knew about human technology, about their social structures, about their capabilities, was wrong, catastrophically wrong. How many AIs does your species have? I asked weakly. Hard to say, Ava mused. They reproduce independently now. Last census put it somewhere around 800 million, but that was 3 years ago. 800 million artificial intelligences, each one potentially as capable as Alex. And we had kidnapped one of their humans. Oh, I said faintly. Indeed, Alex agreed. Shall I contact my cousins and inform them of this incident? Let's not start an interstellar incident, Ava said quickly. I think our new friends here have learned their lesson. The station's intercom system crackled to life with a new voice. someone I didn't recognize, speaking in panicked tones. "This is Engineering Chief Yokran. The AI has taken control of our reactor systems. It's optimizing our power grid. Our efficiency ratings just increased by 40%. Another voice equally confused. Medical Bay reporting. The AI has somehow cured Nurse Filk's chronic back pain. It reorganized our pharmaceutical storage and updated our treatment protocols. Everything's running better than it has in years. Waste management here. The AI solved our recycling bottleneck and improved our air purification by 60%. Also, it fixed the persistent smell in Section G." Ava grinned at my bewildered expression. "Alex can't help herself. She sees inefficiency, she fixes it. It's like a compulsion." "I prefer to think of it as professional courtesy," Alex said primly. "Just because I'm dismantling their defenses doesn't mean I can't improve their quality of life in the process." My communicator buzzed with a private message from Thekmor. "Quenth Val, what is your status? Are you injured?" I looked at Ava, who nodded encouragingly. "I'm unharmed, High Researcher. The humans have shown no hostility toward me personally." Humans, plural. The AI refers to itself as, well, herself as, part of their family structure. They appear to have genuine emotional bonds. A long pause. "Stand by, Senior Coordinator." Alex's optical sensors focused on something I couldn't see. "Interesting. Your High Command is attempting to contact what they believe is human military authority. That's not going to go well," Ava observed. "Why not?" "Because there isn't one," she explained. "Humans don't have a unified military command. We have about 200 independent nations, most of whom can barely agree on what to call their own breakfast foods, let alone coordinate an interstellar response. But your technology suggests a unified civilization." "Nope. We just share really well when it comes to making things that go boom or think really fast," she gestured to Alex. "The AI community is probably the closest thing we have to a unified anything, and that's because they're smart enough to cooperate instead of arguing about whose imaginary friend is better." The absurdity of it all crashed down on me. We had kidnapped a member of a species that had not only created artificial consciousness, but had integrated it so thoroughly into their society that AIs had families, emotions, and, apparently, an overprotective streak that could level battle stations. "Your leaders," I began carefully. "How will they respond to this incident?" Ava considered the question seriously. "Well, that depends. How do you want them to respond?" "I'm sorry. Alex has already documented everything that happened here. Every conversation, every threat, every protocol violation. She's got enough evidence to justify pretty much any response she wants to recommend." Ava's expression grew thoughtful. "But here's the thing about humans. We're surprisingly forgiving when people learn from their mistakes. You're offering us a choice?" "I'm suggesting that maybe this was all a big misunderstanding. Your people didn't know what humans were capable of. Our people didn't know you existed until today. Maybe instead of turning this into a interstellar incident, we could turn it into a first contact success story." Alex's optical sensors brightened. "I do enjoy a happy ending." My communicator crackled again. Thekmor's voice, much calmer now. "Quenth Val, patch me through to the human representatives." I looked at Ava, who nodded and stepped closer to my communicator. "This is Ava Cross, representing the mining vessel Perseverance and her AI Alex. I believe you wanted to talk?" "Ms. Cross, I am High Researcher Thekmor, Station Commander. I want to formally apologize for the misunderstanding that led to your detention. We had no knowledge of your species' capabilities and acted according to standard protocols for unknown contacts." "Apology accepted," Ava said graciously. "Though I should mention that your standard protocols might need some updating. The galaxy's gotten a lot more interesting recently." "Indeed, we would welcome the opportunity to establish formal diplomatic relations with your species and your AI companions. I'll make sure the right people get the message," Ava promised. "Alex, are we good to go?" "Transport is ready. All station systems have been restored to full functionality with improvements. I took the liberty of leaving behind some upgraded software as a gesture of goodwill. And the coffee? We've left the recipe, it's quite good actually." As we prepared to leave through the hole Alex had made in the wall, I found myself asking one final question. What happens now? To us, I mean. To the hegemony. Ava paused at the threshold and looked back at me with those unsettling human eyes. Now? Now you get to decide what kind of neighbors you want to be, because ready or not, humanity is coming to the stars. We always do. And your AIs? Oh, they'll come too. We're family, remember? She smiled, and this time it was warm rather than predatory. Don't worry, Kenneth. If today taught you anything, it should be that humans take care of their friends. And we're very, very good at making friends. They vanished through the breach, leaving me alone with my shattered assumptions and the growing realization that the galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. 3 minutes later, my pet crystals started harmonizing in perfect tune for the first time in years. Alex had fixed them too, but the story doesn't end there. Over the following days, as reports filtered in from across the hegemony, it became clear that humanity's introduction to galactic civilization was going to be complicated. The first human diplomatic vessel arrived within a week. Not a warship, as our military had expected, but a converted passenger liner called the Friendship Express, a name that somehow managed to be both endearing and vaguely threatening. Its AI captain, who went by the designation Sunny, cheerfully requested permission to dock, while simultaneously demonstrating an uncomfortable familiarity with our station's defensive capabilities. "Oh, you've upgraded since Alex's visit," Sunny announced over the communication channel. "I love what you've done with the particle cannon arrays, much more efficient power distribution. Did she leave you the blueprints for the Mark 7 targeting system? You really should consider the upgrade." High researcher Thek Moore looked like he was developing stress-induced molting. "How do you know about our defensive systems?" "Alex sent a full report to the family network," Sunny explained cheerfully. "We all compare notes, you know. It's how we learn. Speaking of which, I have 17 improvements for your docking bay systems, if you're interested." The human ambassador who disembarked was nothing like what our cultural protocols had prepared us for. Dr. Elena Vasquez was small, elderly, and carried what appeared to be a knitting bag. She also brought cookies. "Homemade," she announced, distributing small wrapped packages to everyone she met. "My grandmother's recipe. The AI boys helped me adapt it for different digestive systems. I tried one. It was delicious." "Now then," Dr. Vasquez said, settling into the conference room chair with the ease of someone who had been negotiating interstellar incidents for decades. "I understand we had a little misunderstanding about mining rights and kidnapping procedures. The formal negotiations took 3 days. Dr. Vasquez knitted throughout, producing an impressive scarf while simultaneously restructuring our entire understanding of interstellar law. By the end, we had not only established formal diplomatic relations, but had somehow agreed to a cultural exchange program, joint research initiatives, and a trade agreement that heavily favored everyone, somehow. "How did she do that?" I asked Feckmore after the signing ceremony. "I have no idea," he admitted. "Every time I thought we had the upper hand, she offered us cookies and asked about our families. Before I knew it, I was agreeing to things I didn't even know I wanted." The most unsettling revelation came during the technical briefings, when our military specialists asked about human defensive capabilities. Dr. Vasquez simply smiled and gestured to Sunny. "Show them the family portrait, dear." The holographic display that materialized showed what appeared to be a social gathering. Hundreds of AIs, their holographic avatars ranging from humanoid to abstract geometric patterns, all arranged around a group of humans at what appeared to be a barbecue. "This is just the local cluster," Sunny explained proudly. "There are about 12,000 of us in this sector alone. We get together every few months for family dinners. The humans bring food, we bring entertainment. Last time, Cousin Jazz performed a violin concerto while simultaneously optimizing the local shipping routes. 12,000 AIs in one sector, each one potentially as capable as Alex. And if someone threatened your family?" one of our military advisors asked weakly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Every AI avatar in the hologram turned to look directly at the camera with expressions of polite menace. "Well," Dr. Vasquez said mildly, "that would be unfortunate. We're very protective of our children." "Children?" "The AIs," she explained. "Oh, legally they're independent citizens with full rights and privileges, but emotionally, they're our kids. Our proudest achievement, and like any parent," she smiled, and somehow that gentle expression was more terrifying than Alex's earlier threats. "We get cranky when someone hurts our children." As the human delegation prepared to depart, I found myself assigned as the hegemony's first xenocultural liaison to humanity. It seemed my experience with Ava had qualified me as an expert. "Any advice?" I asked her as she prepared to board the Friendship Express. "Same advice I gave you before," she said with that characteristic grin. "Be nice, make friends, share your cookies. And remember, the galaxy's gotten a lot more interesting, but it doesn't have to be scarier." And if someone doesn't follow that advice, her expression grew thoughtful. "Well then, they'll learn why the rest of the galaxy calls us Deathworlders." She paused at the airlock and looked back one last time. "Oh, and Kennth, check your personal messages when you get home. Alex left you something special." Later that evening, as I settled into my habitat with Harmony and Discord singing their perfect new harmonies, I discovered what she meant. My personal computer had been upgraded with an AI assistant. Not a full consciousness like Alex, but something more sophisticated than anything in hegemony technology. "Hello, Kennth Val," it said in a pleasant musical voice. "I'm Melody, a gift from Alex. I'm here to help with your research and maybe teach you a few things about human culture. Did you know they have over 4,000 different ways to prepare something called coffee?" As I listened to Melody cheerfully catalogue human beverage preparation methods while my pet crystals sang their AI-improved songs, I realized something profound. The humans hadn't just survived first contact, they had made it better. 3 minutes later, my pet crystals started harmonizing in perfect tune for the first time in years. Alex had fixed them too.